Hey guys, Dr. Rajratna here. We are continuing with the OTAD, the ophthalmic instruments. So I have already posted question 6 to 10 for you. So here we go ahead with the discussion starting from question 6. Question number 6, identify the instrument. So the instrument that has been shown to us is this keratome. You remember I had discussed this in the previous video. I had actually shown you the instrument. So it's got this sharp triangular tip. Okay, so that is the cutting edge. Whereas this bit is non-cutting. Okay, so this is non-cutting. This is the cutting edge. And what is it used for? For entering into the AC through the main incision. Yes, so your triplanar incision, the last bit of your sclerocorneal tunnel, especially when you're entering into the AC, is through this instrument, the keratome. So the keratome, as somebody asked me in the previous discussion, ma'am, the sizes vary. Yes, the sizes vary depending on your phacoprobe diameter essentially. So usually it's between 2.8 to 3.2 millimeter, this keratome, if we are planning for a peripheral clear corneal incision, as in for phaco. Now for SICS, if you use this, the thing is later you'll have to again extend the incision when you have to implant the IOL. So then we take another keratome which is of a little larger size, so it could be somewhere between 4.5 to 5.5 if you're putting in a non-foldable IOL, a rigid IOL. If you're going to put in that, then we use another keratome with this size. Now 2.8 to 3.2, yes, your phacoprobe also will go in, and also your injector of your foldable IOL is also going to go in. So there is a minimal need to extend, and that extension can be done with this keratome itself. Now this is a picture showing you how this keratome is entering into the AC. So what is called as, you should see the dimple. Do you see the dimple there? So you should see the wrinkling of the Descemet's membrane, and there should be a sharp entry there. So you should see the folds on the Descemet's membrane, and it is a sharp entry. So this is the frown incision. You remember the frown incision I was talking about in the previous video on instruments and SICS. So this is a typical frown incision. So here it is an SICS, and the last step of the triplanar incision, the keratome is making an AC entry. All right. So question number 7, identify the forceps, and I've given you options. Now this is a corneoscleral forceps. Now which corneoscleral forceps devised by which gentleman? Now, if you watched the previous video, I had shown you limbs. This is definitely not limbs, because limbs had a very straight limb. Can you see that? It's quite straight, and only at the lid and only at the tip it's a little bent. So this is limbs, if you remember. Okay, so limbs, two-teeth corneoscleral forceps. So this is limbs. So the actual question is not limbs. McPherson's, again I've shown you, McPherson doesn't look like this. So it's not McPherson, it is not limbs, it's Colibris. Okay, so I kept on talking to you about Colibris. So this is Colibris sclerocorneal forceps. All right. Okay, now that's limbs for you. Now question number 8, identify the instrument and the step being performed in the cataract surgery. So you can either use just one instrument, or you can use two instruments. So in this one there are two instruments that have been used. So the instrument is Sinskey's, okay, Sinskey's lens manipulation hook. Now this lens could be the IOL or the natural lens itself. Now what is Sinskey's role in cataract surgery? So one is when you are taking out the nucleus, when you're removing the cataractous lens. Okay, so during that time you kind of rotate the nucleus from the capsular bag into the AC. For that, Sinskey's helps you catch hold of the equator of the lens and just bring it out. Or it can be used during lens implantation, IOL implantation. So if you have a lens, a IOL with holes, okay, so suppose you have an IOL with holes, now you can use this hook to hook on to one of the hole and dial the IOL into the capsular bag. Now, as in this picture where there is no hole, it's actually a toric IOL because you can see the 3 dots here, okay, representing the axis. So this is actually a toric IOL. So here again we are dialing the lens into the capsular bag, the IOL into the capsular bag. So very often you just have to hold it at the optic haptic junction and dial it in. But here there are 2 instruments being used, so the maneuvering is a little different. So this is Sinskey's lens manipulation hook. So it can also be called as an IOL dialer, as some of you have answered. Okay, so IOL dialer also it can be called, or the lens manipulation hook. All right, lens in the sense your nucleus. All right, now we'll move on to, okay, so this is the Sinskey's hook. This is how it looks like. It's very thin. If you very carefully observe, you'll have this hook. Okay, so you'll have this hook at the edge, at the end or the tip, through which you can hook on to the IOL or hook on to the equator of the lens. Name this instrument. Almost all of you have got it right. It is Desmar's lid retractor. Okay, eyelid retractor. Now, what is the use of this Desmar's eyelid retractor? Typically to do this double eversion. Okay, so typically for the double eversion of eyelid. Now, what is double eversion? See, at this step, number 1, the lid has been, upper lid has been everted once. Now you put the Desmar's and again you pull it over. So now you are able to see the phonics. So this is double eversion. On an already everted eyelid, when you're going to evert again using Desmar's, that's called double eversion of eyelid. So it's very, very useful if you're looking for any foreign body in the phonics, if you want to flush out the chemical particles or anything that is lodged in the phonics when you're doing the irrigation. Yes, it's very, very useful. It's not just in double eversion, even for a single eversion it's useful. Okay, for a single eversion especially, single eversion is can be done when you place the Desmar's retractor on the skin side and evert it once. It's easier. You can either you do it using just a bud, your ear bud, you can do that, or if you have a Desmar's you can do. Now Desmar's has typically of 2 sizes. One is adult and a pediatric size, because the tarsal plate height is different in an adult and a child. Now what is a typical height? Now homework for you is, what is a typical height of the upper lid tarsal plate in an adult? What is a height of tarsal plate of adult? So that's the homework for you. Okay, now this is another use for Desmar's. Now see, we do some simple OPD procedures, right? For OPD procedures, as in when we're giving posterior subtenon injection where you want some surgical exposure, and it's not really convenient to put a wire speculum in a patient who has not been blocked, or in these cases a Desmar's retractor is just going to pull the lid up. So ask the patient to look down first, insert the lid retractor, Desmar's lid retractor, and just pull the retractor up. You get some surgical space where you can use to give your posterior subtenon injection, or even some people, they use this even for intravitreal injections, all right, to give a surgical site exposure. So these are the various uses of Desmar's lid retractor. Now name this instrument and its use. So this is, as some of you said, it's eye guard, because it guards the globe, the eyeball. Okay, it protects the the eyeball, or it's also called as lid plate. Okay, it's also called as lid plate, Jaeger's lid plate. So what is actually done is, see, if you will be able to see, it's got this concavity here. So if I want to do some procedure on the lid, okay, so you insert this just beneath. Okay, so just beneath the lid. So it's beneath the lid, and if I want to give a full thickness incision on the lid, I don't want my incision to go down into the eyeball and perforate the eyeball. So this is a nice metal plate which is going to protect the eyeball from the your surgical incisions, okay, from perforation. So it can be used both on the upper lid and the lower lid. So you place the concavity facing down. Okay, so the concavity will be down facing the eyeball, and the convexity over which you can stretch the eyelid. Now it is also used when you want to stretch the eyelid over something. So I've already placed this, so it's going to give some like one strength or support over which you can pull your lid. So if this is your upper lid, you can pull the upper lid. So already you would have put some traction sutures on the upper lid, so you can pull the lid over this and then you can work on it. So especially when you're doing an LPS resection, the exterior approach, the skin approach, so in those cases, or if you're doing an entropion surgery, a Weiss procedure or a Jones procedure, where you want to work on the eyelid, but you want to save your eyeball from inadvertent perforations, so in those cases Jaeger's lid plate or the eye guard is useful. Now because it looks like your shoe horn, when you put in your shoes, when you're not able to put your thrust your heel inside, you use something like this. So this is also called as a shoe horn plate. Now there are people who also call it as a lid spatula, eyelid spatula, that is also okay. So lid spatula also can be another name. So you should know the various names and the various practical uses of Jaeger's lid plate. All right. I hope you enjoyed this session where we had 5 questions and in fact 5 pictures. So as I always say, when you see more pictures, you learn a lot. So we've had 5 pictures today, and I hope your fear of ophthal is all gone. And you hope this OTAT session is helping you all, guys. Stay blessed, all of you.